I didn't overhear a joke, I overheard my own family wondering why I still existed. I was standing behind a weathered gate, the kind that squeaks if you push it too hard. In my hands, I held a warm dish of blackberry crisp, still fogging the lid from the steam. I had walked 2 blocks with that heat pressed against my palms, careful not to spill a drop. And then I heard her voice. Not loud. Not screaming. Just casual, like she was commenting on the weather. "How is she still hanging on?" she said. A small laugh followed, sharp, clipped, quick. The kind of laugh that doesn't bounce. The kind that cuts and stays. I didn't gasp. I didn't drop the dish. I didn't turn around and run like a movie scene. My hands were steady. My heart, though, my heart went quiet. Have you ever felt something break inside you without making a sound? I stood there long enough to be sure I wasn't imagining it. Then I stepped through the gate like I hadn't heard a thing. The backyard was dressed up for celebration. String lights, folding tables, bright plastic cups, somebody's speaker blasting music that sounded like it was in a hurry. People moved around each other like a school of fish, smiling in the directions that mattered. Not at me. Some faces were family. Some were friends of family. Some were strangers who looked through me as if I was just part of the furniture they rented for the afternoon. A throat cleared. "Oh. Mary Ann," someone said, "too late. We didn't know you were coming." That was Tessa, my son's wife, standing with her shoulders tight and her smile pinned on like a name tag. The same voice I'd heard behind the gate. "I brought dessert," I said, and lifted the dish just a little. No one reached for it. No one said, "That's kind." No one said, "I'm glad you're here." I walked to the far end of the table, the place where the light from the string bulbs barely touched, and I set the dish down like an offering to a room that didn't believe in gratitude. The folding chair creaked when I sat. My back ached, but I kept my posture tall. Pride is a strange thing. Sometimes it's the last coat you have left. The air smelled like grilled meat and citronella and spilled soda. Everyone was laughing, eating with both hands, talking over each other, telling stories that start with, "Remember when?" Nobody remembered me. A little boy ran past me, one of my grandchildren, and he brushed my elbow without looking up. He didn't say hello. He didn't even slow down, the way children do when they recognize someone safe. I stared at his small shoulders and felt a ridiculous thought rise up. Maybe they don't recognize me when I'm not useful. I used to be the one who brought snacks in little bags. The one who kept extra mittens in her purse. The one who made pancakes shaped like animals because it made them laugh. Now I was a stranger holding a clean dish. My son, Ethan, made a toast at one point. He lifted a beer and said, "To family." The word floated over the table like a balloon, bright and hollow. Glasses clinked. No one looked at me. What does family mean if it doesn't include the person who built the table? Tessa approached later with a plate in her hand, wearing that tight smile people use when they're trying to look kind for witnesses. "Do you want a plate?" she asked. "I'm fine," I said. She nodded too quickly and drifted away before the conversation could become real. I stayed until the end. Not because I was hoping someone would apologize. Not because I was waiting for Ethan to notice. I stayed because leaving too soon would have been my old habit: swallow it, carry it, disappear. I helped stack plates. I folded napkins. I wiped a sticky table with a damp paper towel while everyone else migrated indoors, laughing louder, warmer, relieved to be away from the old part of the day. Then I picked up my empty dish, still warm from the sun, and walked home. I didn't cry. Not yet. Because something else had arrived first. A decision. The next morning, I made coffee in my smallest pot. 1 cup. 1 place setting. No music, no television. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of my own breathing. I sat at the kitchen table by the window, the same table where Ethan used to do homework, his legs too long for the chair, his pencil tapping like a metronome. Back then, he needed me. Now, he tolerated me. I didn't open my mail. I didn't need to see his name on another "please help us with this" bill. Because yes, I had helped. Years ago, when they were desperate for a down payment, I had emptied part of my retirement savings to make sure my son and his wife got their fresh start. I had said, no strings. I had meant it. But I also hadn't imagined no strings meant no respect. That morning, I walked to my filing cabinet. I pulled out a folder labeled, in my own handwriting, Ethan, house help. Inside, bank statements, a cashier's check copy, a letter I'd written and signed saying the money was a gift, no repayment expected. At the bottom of that letter, I had written one line that made my throat tighten now. Because you're my son. It hurt more than I thought it would. Not the money. The sentence. What do you do when love becomes proof against you? That afternoon, I called Pauline. She wasn't a friend in the warm, casserole swap way. She was a woman I'd met at a community group years ago, sharp-eyed, unromantic, the kind of person who reads documents the way other people read novels. She'd worked around estate planning and legal paperwork for decades. I have questions, I told her. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't ask who hurt me. She just said, bring everything tomorrow morning. That night, I slept without medication for the first time in months. Not peaceful. Just, aligned. The next day, I dressed like I was going to court, even though I wasn't. Ironed slacks. Real shoes. Buttons. When you're about to stop begging for scraps, you don't wear elastic. Pauline's office smelled like peppermint tea and lemon cleaner. She skimmed my documents, tapped one fingernail against the paper, and let out a small breath. You can't take the gift back, she said. Legally, it's theirs. I know, I answered. But that doesn't mean they get anything else. She looked at me for a long second, then slid a notepad across the desk. We start with access, she said. Bank accounts. Medical decisions. Beneficiaries. Any legal authority you gave him. She handed me a checklist, clean, practical, merciless. And as she spoke, I realized something that made my stomach turn. My son wasn't just distant. He had access. When I'd fallen 2 years earlier, Ethan had insisted, let me help, Mom. He'd gotten his name attached to things, medical permissions, account access, because it was easier. And I had let him. Because I still believed motherhood meant trusting someone even after they stopped being kind. That evening, back at my table, I wrote his name at the top of a blank page. Ethan. Then, with a steady hand, I drew one line through it. On Wednesday, I baked a pie I didn't plan to share. Apple, heavy with cinnamon, the crust made with the good butter, the kind I used to save for holidays. This time it was just for me. Not because I was celebrating. Because I was proving I still could. Across the street, a car I recognized pulled into their driveway. Ethan's sister-in-law, always welcome, always invited, carrying groceries and a bottle of wine like she belonged. I watched from my porch and realized something cold. They hadn't invited me inside their home in months. Not since my granddaughter Lila's birthday, where they sat me near the trash bins, so I wouldn't be too close to the noise. Have you ever been placed somewhere like an object? That afternoon, I walked to the hallway drawer where I kept little things for the kids, stickers, tiny notebooks, a pack of cards, silly treasures. I emptied it. Every last item went into a paper bag. I set it on the curb with my recycling and watched it sit there like a quiet symbol, all the love I had been holding, just in case. Just in case they remembered me. They didn't. That night, Ethan texted. Hey. Tessa thinks she might have upset you Sunday. She didn't mean anything. You know how gatherings are. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Not archived. Not saved. Deleted. I was done storing excuses like family heirlooms. A knock came later. It was my neighbor, Clara, holding a container of soup and asking if I'd seen her cat. She didn't ask about Ethan. She didn't ask why my eyes looked heavier than usual. She just sat at my table, ate pie, and talked about ordinary things. Sometimes kindness is simply not demanding a performance. After she left, I took a framed photo from the hallway. Ethan at 8 years old, missing a front tooth, smiling at me like I was the whole world. I whispered, "I miss you." Not the man, the boy. Then I turned the photo face down. And I pulled out the envelope marked legal. Inside, my will, my medical directives, and the document that made my chest tighten, the durable power of attorney I had signed when I was scared. Ethan had it. He had authority. And he had not used it to protect me. He had used it to feel important. The next morning, Pauline sat me down and said, "Are you ready to revoke it?" "Yes," I said. She paused. "That's a major shift." "It's not revenge," I told her. "It's protection." We signed the revocation. We filed it. We set new medical proxies, someone neutral, a professional service, not family. Then Pauline looked at me and asked the question people think is too harsh to say out loud. "Do you want to change your will?" I swallowed. "Yes," I said. "Remove him as executor. Remove him as beneficiary." Even saying the words made my tongue feel heavy. But the truth was heavier. "Are you sure?" she asked. "He has a house," I said. "He has a job. He has a life. What he doesn't have is the right to punish me and still profit from me." We talked through options, trusts, beneficiaries, safeguards. And then she asked, gently, "Where do you want your home to go?" I pulled a brochure from my purse. It was folded and worn, like I'd opened it too many times without letting myself admit what it meant. Harbor House Women's Shelter. "I stayed there once," I said quietly. "Before Ethan was born. When I had nowhere else." Pauline didn't speak for a long moment. She just nodded, like she understood that some survival stories never leave your bones. "Then we'll do it correctly," she said. That afternoon, I went to my bank. I sat in a glass office across from a manager with kind eyes and quick hands. "I need to remove all authorized users," I said. She turned her screen. "You have one. Ethan Miller." "That's my son," she said, confirming. "He used to be," I answered. Her fingers hesitated above the keyboard. "Completely?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Cancel cards. Reissue accounts. Change logins. Lock access so changes require my presence." She nodded and did not judge me. And while she typed, I stared at a plant on her desk, a pothose trailing toward the floor, and remembered the one I'd kept in Ethan's nursery. He'd once tried to eat the dirt. I had laughed until I almost dropped the diaper bag. That memory rose up like a soft wave and then slipped away, leaving the shore empty. Back home, I called a locksmith. I changed my locks. Not because Ethan was dangerous with his hands. Because he was dangerous with entitlement. I made extra keys and placed them where my safety lived, with Clara, in a fireproof box, in a safe deposit box. That night, I slept better. No dreams. Just rest. On Saturday, rain softened the world, and I went into my garden. The marigolds drooped like tired shoulders. I clipped them back slowly, methodically, my shears making quiet, certain sounds. In your 70s, control looks like trimming what you can still reach. Then the present came knocking. A voicemail from a blocked number. Tessa's voice, polite and tight. "We're worried about you," she said. "Ethan says you're acting strange. Please call us." Worried. What a clean word for, "We notice the doors are closing." I didn't call back. Because I finally understood the difference between being missed and being needed. They didn't miss me. They missed what I provided. Being needed isn't the same as being loved. The next week, I met with an attorney Pauline recommended. We created a living trust. We moved my home into it. We locked the future down with careful language and no loopholes. The plan was simple. When I pass, the home is sold, and the proceeds go to Harbor House. No family inheritance. No last-minute guilt. No pressure. Just my decision, protected. When I left that office, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. Like I had finally washed something off my skin that had been there for years. That evening, Ethan came to my door. He knocked twice, then called, "Mom? Please. I just want to talk." I sat on my couch, hands folded in my lap, and did not answer. He said my name like it was a key. But I had changed the locks. After he left, I cried for exactly 8 minutes. I timed it. Not because I was cold. Because endings deserve respect, and then they deserve a boundary. In the weeks that followed, I packed slowly. One drawer at a time. One memory at a time. I kept what made me stronger. I donated what made me smaller. I found an apartment in a quiet complex on the edge of town. Ground floor. Lots of light. Mostly retirees and teachers. When the leasing manager asked if I wanted to think about it, I said, "I already have." I signed. And then, on a Sunday evening, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi," a girl's voice said. "Grandma?" My chest tightened. "Lila?" I whispered. "I found your number in Dad's old phone," she said. He didn't know I was looking. There was a pause long enough to hold years. "I'm sorry," she said. I didn't rush to comfort her. The instinct to make everything easy for everyone else had lived in me too long. "What are you sorry for?" I asked gently. She breathed in. "For pretending not to see you," she said. "For laughing when she said that thing." My throat tightened. "It wasn't funny," she added. I wanted to fit in. That sentence, small, ashamed, softened something sharp in me without erasing it. "Do you want to see me?" she asked. "Just me." I looked at my half-packed home. At my empty hallway drawer. At the quiet I was learning to trust. "Yes," I said. "Come tomorrow after school." The next day, I baked banana bread, not as a peace offering, not as a bribe, but because I like warm things in a house that's changing. When Lila arrived, she stood on my porch in a hoodie too big for her, her hair pulled back like she hadn't decided what she deserved yet. "I wasn't sure you'd open the door," she said. "I wasn't sure you'd knock," I replied. Inside, we sat at the kitchen table. She picked at the bread. I poured tea. She said, "Mom thinks you're cutting us off." "I'm not cutting," I told her. "I'm choosing." Her eyes filled, but she blinked it back like she'd been trained not to inconvenience anyone with emotion. "I don't hate you," she said. "I don't hate you either," I answered. "But I won't pretend anymore." She nodded, slowly. Like someone hearing truth spoken aloud for the first time. "Can I come again?" she asked. "Even after you move?" "Yes," I said. "But only for honesty. Not for performance. Honesty is how love stays clean." She pulled a folded paper from her backpack. "I drew something," she said, embarrassed. It was a sketch, rough, but clear. A woman at a table. A chessboard between her and unseen opponents. She had fewer pieces, but they were placed with intention. At the bottom, Lila had written, "She's not done." I pressed my fingers to the paper like it could anchor me. Moving day came without ceremony. 2 young movers carried my boxes out while I walked through my home one last time, touching the door frames, thanking the walls for holding me through decades. I left a note in the top drawer of the hallway table. "This house taught me my own strength." Then I locked the door and didn't look back. My apartment smelled like fresh paint and clean beginnings. The light through the window didn't carry old arguments. It just arrived. The first thing I unpacked was my kettle. The second was Lila's drawing. I taped it near the window so the morning sun would find it first. A week later, my old home sold. I signed the final documents without shaking. Then I walked into Harbor House with a check in my hand and told the director, "This is for women who leave with nothing but breath." She cried. I didn't. I had done my crying. This was intention. That night, I ate soup standing at my stove. No table setting. No guests. No pretending. Just hunger met. At 8:30, my buzzer rang. Lila. She came up holding a shoebox. "Things I'm not ready to keep at home," she said. Inside, a photo of us at the zoo when she was 5, chocolate on her face. A necklace she liked but couldn't wear around her mother. A notebook with poems she'd never shown anyone. "I don't want to live there when I'm older," she said quietly. "You won't have to," I told her. "You get to choose." "Even if they're mad?" she asked. "Especially then," I said. She hugged me like she was trying to memorize a feeling. The next morning, the clerk at the corner store said, "You're the banana bread lady." I laughed, an actual laugh, not sharp, not defensive. Just real. "Yes," I said. "That's me." A few days later, a letter arrived. Ethan's handwriting. I opened it slowly. "Mom," it said. "I don't know how to fix this. I let things happen. I laughed when I should have protected you. I'm sorry. I hope one day you'll let me try." I folded it and placed it in a drawer. Not forgiveness. Not rejection. A place for it to sit until I decided what it deserved. Because forgiveness is not something you hand out to make other people comfortable. It is something you grow when you are finally safe. On my birthday, there were no balloons. No surprise messages. Just morning light, quiet coffee, and the sound of rain far away. I made pancakes and ate them slowly, like I had all the time in the world because, for once, I wasn't spending it begging to be included. At noon, Lila came with tulips and a handmade card. On the front, she'd painted 2 chairs. One empty. One with a teacup. Inside she wrote, "Thanks for keeping a seat for me." My eyes burned. "Thank you," I whispered. And later, after she left, I sat at my small table and wrote in my journal. They wondered why I was still here. I'm still here to remember my name. I'm still here to set my own table. I'm still here to keep the door open, just wide enough, for the ones who knock with clean hands. If you stayed with me this far, ask yourself something gently tonight. Who have you been shrinking for? And who would you become if you stopped? Near the end, I want to ask you, if this story reached you, if it reminded you of someone you love, please tap like and spend a moment with us here on Dust of Old Days. And if you want more long, grandmother-style stories about family, memory, and the quiet moments that change everything, subscribe to Dust of Old Days, and keep a seat at this table with me.